next week there's supposed to be talks on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but some typo and we typed 2021 and 23. So now the fly has gone far and wide, and the talk has to be on the 23rd, which is a Thursday, instead of Wednesday. So we've got class today, and then we'll have another 3-week break. But today's class will be awesome. And when I come back, there'll be class for 2 whole months without interruption. We might even finish the Ramayana. Okay. And I was just in India and I was listening to Guruji's class on the Ramayana, and really, the weeks I'm not here, we should send out Guruji's talks. It's just so brilliant. But he's on the bit that I already covered. So I didn't get to hear the fun, exciting things that I could tell you that I didn't yet cover. So we met Hanumanji last class, correct? So this meeting of Hanumanji and Ramchandraji is so incredibly sweet. Because in the story of the Ramayana, Ramchandraji very often is representative of Paramatma, and Sitaji is representative of Jivatma. And Sitaji gets kidnapped by Ravana, who's the ego. And so Jivatma forgets Paramatma because of ego in terms of our journey in spirituality. And then Paramatma sends Guru to Jivatma to remind Jivatma that I love you, basically, is what Paramatma's message via Guru to Jivatma is. And Guru is Hanumanji. And so here, when Hanumanji is meeting Ramchandraji, it's Guru is meeting with Paramatma from the level of the symbolism of the Ramayana. And then we notice that what is said in the dialogue between Hanumanji and Ramchandraji is that how could I not have recognized you? Like you've come in front of me as divinity incarnate, and how can I not? How come I didn't recognize you? But even more than that, surely you recognized me. And Paramatma being all-knowing, you recognize me. So the sense of recognizing, and the word recognizing is so cool in the way it's structured, because cognize is to be able to think. And cognize is when we make sense of things, right? Cognition is the thought flow where we understand and we have. And then recognize means that at some point it was already there. Like remember, it was there, and then we've had to reintroduce it. And so here with recognizing divinity, somewhere we already knew it. And of course we already knew it because it's me, myself. And recognizing is because we forget. It's really we forget. And so much of Hanumanji is the story of how we forget. And so we see that it's not there in the Ramayana, but we know that there's the story of Hanumanji that as a child, he sees the sun and jumps up to eat the sun. And then is shot by Indra Devata with his Vajra. And Hanumanji falls back on earth and breaks his chin as he lands. I mean, actually, the Vajra is the most powerful weapon in creation. And what was Indra thinking using it on a little kid? Like the most, you use most powerful weapon not on a kid. And that too for being mischievous. Like talk about over punishing. Like from a teacher point of view, this is just very bad disciplinary action. Like, if a kid misbehaves, then okay, little bit punishment. But just being mischievous, you cannot reprimand to this extent. Um, but meant to be, because when Hanumanji falls and recovering from the hit of a Vajra already shows his incredible resilience um, and capacity to withstand, which is like really, if we think about Hanumanji as strong, then yes, he carried mountain and fought with demons and all of that, but this capacity to withstand, because really strength is that. So much in our lives, so much of what strength is to be able to endure, probably would be the right word. Maybe not only endure, because endure has the sentiment of it's unpleasant. Um, yeah, to withstand is the, like sometimes even there's this one overzealous kid in the camp in India, and every time they saw me, even from a distance, they'd come running to me in full speed, and then like jump to be able to be hugged. But when they're coming so fast, you have to like brace yourself because otherwise, when they jump, they'll knock you over. And I'm big, huh? Like imagine one of you skinny ones. So, like that ability to not topple over. Mhm. And so being hit by Vajra is such an incredible attack. And we feel attacked by the way life turns out sometimes, and life is not even attacking. But here it's a definite attack. And he was still able to stand back up. Okay, a little bit help he got here, but it didn't destroy him. He landed, he broke his chin, but everything else was okay. That's the ability to take it on. And so he was very mischievous. Who? Hanumanji. Very mischievous as a kid. And mischievousness as in a child is a sign of intelligence. It's because they have so many ideas and they have so much energy and they have so much, and they understand things quickly. So then they're going to get bored and then they're going to want to do. And Hanumanji was very, is present tense. Hanumanji is still alive. Hanumanji is incredibly intelligent, right? So, and with the dynamic brain, I mean, you're intelligent and there's time, then you're going to get up to mischief because the brain has the capacity to be able to create and think of things. And then Hanumanji has the daringness to even try it because sometimes, like depending on who I'm talking to, so they'll say something and I'll have 300 cheeky things to reply. And if it's somebody I know well enough, then I will say my 300 cheeky things. But if it's somebody I don't know very well, I'll say, just swallow the 300 cheeky things. But so you have to have daring to be able, like you have the thoughts and then to be able to actually say the thoughts. So intelligence is one thing, but mischievousness is not just intelligence. It is Rehi and daring to be able to live out that mischievous thought. So since he was mischievous and he a little bit troubled all the rishis while they were meditating, only a little bit, but he troubled them. When he was blessed after falling by from all the devatas that you will have all these siddhis. Then the rishis thought, oh my gosh, you're going to make him more powerful and he's already so mischievous. And it's because he was so young. There isn't the maturity to know how to use powers. And so they made him forget that he was powerful. So even like very young, having so many siddhis. And then one of the reasons we forget, because very often people will ask, right? Like, why? Why did we even forget? Because sometimes there is immaturity, and then we'd use that power in a way that would be hurtful for others and ourselves. Like in Hanumanji's case, he's just very young. So, of course, there's not that same level of maturity. So until we ready, we don't remember. Brave enough or resilient enough and strong enough, daring enough. And so we see in the life of Hanumanji that so much he forgets, and then here he meets Ram and he remembers. I mean, he talks, but within that hour of meeting Ram, he recognizes Ramchandraji as divinity. So there was forgetfulness, but the recognizing happens so quickly of recognizing divinity. And then if we think in terms of who is our guru, somebody who already recognizes divinity in themselves, in the world around us. And we also looking at that same world, but we're not recognizing divinity. We're also looking at ourselves, but we're not recognizing divinity. And so recognizing Ramchandraji, but in the terms of how the story then keeps going, we'll see that later on, he remembers all his power. And so first recognizing divinity, and then it takes a while to get used to this idea of divinity. And then we're able to access this immense potential that is there within each one of us. Like every single one of us. There's so much potential there. And then it's just remembering. It's just recognizing that it's always just been there. And then we can use it. And so in this meeting of Hanumanji and Ramchandraji, it's this celebrating of remembering. It's the celebrating of recognizing. And so, as we narrate the Ramayana, or as we know the Ramayana, Hanumanji is never apart from Ramchandraji. If Hanumanji is there, then Ramchandraji is there. If Ramchandraji is there, then Hanumanji is there. It's just this, they're so intertwined with each other. And it's because when we remember, when we recognize that divinity which we are recognizing outside of us is also that divinity which is inside of us. And so Hanumanji is Bhagwan himself. Yes, in the story of the Ramayana, he's devotee and he's messenger and he's Duta, but he's Bhagwan himself. And then we see this in so many ways because he's a Amsha of Lord Shiva, so Bhagwan himself. But if you see it as somebody who has surrendered to the Lord and then emptied oneself of all the selfishness and all the negativity and just be totally and completely available for Bhagwan, then of course we are going to be nothing but Bhagwan because we've emptied ourselves of everything else. And Hanumanji really does empty of everything else. Like only what Ramchandraji requires is what he's doing and thinking about, and for himself, nothing. Like there's just no more thought about himself after this meeting with Ramchandraji. So I think I paused at the bit where Hanumanji says, please come up and meet Sugriv. And Ramchandraji says, I'm tired. And I'm so happy Ramchandraji said I'm tired, because every time I think I'm tired, I think, okay, when Ramchandraji felt tired. And then what happened? Hanumanji just carried him. it's in so many ways in Bhakti Shastras. This is we just remember these things. It's okay if you're tired. Hanumanji is just carrying you now, and like use. Of course, we still have to do what we have to do, but they can be just so much solace in that feeling of okay. He knows I'm tired, and he's not going to make me do more. He's going to do half of it for me, and so he'll just carry a lot of the load. And really, so many times I've actually experienced this. There'll be 3 gazillion things because 3 million is just not enough. There's usually 3 gazillion things to get done, and then I'll be like, no, how am I going to get this all done? And then somebody turns up and actually offers to do it for me. Like, wow. Like, really? Is so, in so many ways, he's carrying us. And I remember reading this, hearing this example once, that in a train, I can't remember the reason. I think they charged for bags or something like that. They do, right? In flights and all of that, they charge for bags because weight adds to the fuel of how the craft moves. But this is a train, and so you had to pay for your ticket, and then I think you had to pay for the bags as well. I think this is the reason. And so anyway, there was this Auntie G from, let's say, Chandigarh, and I don't know where she was from, Pathankot, okay? Anyway, it doesn't matter where she's from. She's standing on the train and she's holding the basket on her head, and the basket's really heavy. They made probably like a whole big 5 dozen apples or something like that, which she was then going to go and sell in the marketplace. And so everyone's telling her, put it down. Why are you lifting it? And then I think her reasoning was because she didn't want to pay for the bag. I can't remember exactly what her reasoning was. And so she said, but the train's not carrying it. I'm carrying it. And then because we educated, we know how ridiculous that is. Like, the train's carrying you. So whatever you carrying, the train's carrying. So just put it down instead of having to have this burden of carrying it around. And then in this example, we can see it so clearly that it's nonsensical for us to carry it because anyways, the train's carrying it. But in life, Bhagwan's carrying us. Hanumanji is carrying us. And we still feel we have to bear the burden. And we bearing it, it's such a heavy burden and it's giving us a headache because, that much on your head to carry would give you a headache. And for whatever reason, whatever the reason is, we convince ourselves that we have to carry it. Whereas Hanumanji carries Sri Ram. And it's because he's divinity itself, right? It's not the devotee carrying the Lord because that just would never work. And then they meet. Sugriva and Ramchandraji meet. And it's described like, when you meet people in the same circumstances as you, and then you feel each other's pain because you're in the same circumstance together. And so Sugriv's been exiled out of his kingdom, and Sugriv has lost his wife. Well, not lost her, but she's with Bali and Kishkinder, and he's in exile. And so he's separated from his wife, and so Ramchandraji separated from Sita ji, and he's been exiled out of his kingdom. And so Sugriv feels immediately the sense of like, you understand my pain. And so friendship happens very easily when we have something to bond over. And so from Sugriv's part, actually Ramchandraji would be friends with whoever approached him. And here it was thanks to Hanumanji, because then this is again, you see so many blessings of having Guru. Firstly, you are fearful and hesitant and you don't want to do anything, and then Guru comes in and says, look. But also, Bali, so Ramchandraji would have loved anyone who came in front of him. And Sugriv and Bali were at odds with each other. And if Bali had come, then Ramchandraji would have accepted Bali. But Bali didn't come. It was Hanumanji who came. And then Hanumanji introduced Sugriv. And so now Sugriv is standing in front of Ramchandraji saying, please help me. And so Hanumanji helps. Ramchandraji helps. And so here too, grace of Guru, that when there's problem, and then you get is it called a cheat sheet? What does cheat sheet mean? Huh? Cheat code? But it's legit. It's not cheating. Right? It helps you but it's not a cheating. It's just called that because you get through it faster, right? You all know what I mean? Fast track. Yeah, you can do. We can liken it to the fast track also. Yeah, like in Disneyland when the queues are so long, and then you can go in quickly. So it can be a fast track also. But this is actually in when you're doing test and all of that, and you allowed a.
It's more like a test preparation.
It's a test preparation, and it helps you.
Full preparation, you can learn the answers quickly.
You can learn the answers quickly, but it's not the actual test.
But yeah, you should be equipped. Yeah.
So if you do the cheat sheet, then you're now equipped to do the test. Yeah. So that's the example I was thinking of, because that's literally what happens with Sugriv. Yeah. So yes, fast track. Guru does fast track you, but in this sense, Sugriv has to now face this circumstance, and he's been running away from it for however many years, right? And we all do this. We all run away from things for however many years, and whether it be a relationship and we fought with them and now we're not talking to them for sometimes 20 years, huh? You hear of sometimes siblings and they're not talking to each other. Or sometimes even some particular situation. Like I know this one person who won't come to any ladies retreat, Balvihar camp. She just, every time I invite her, no. And then one time she told me, it's because you all do role plays and you make people talk, and I just can't. And so to avoid, like run away from having to face public speaking to the extent where you just don't go for a whole weekend of something that could be immensely beneficial for you. Like we run away in so many different ways. We keep running away. And so Sugriv was running away for years and years and years and years. He kept running away because the problem was too daunting to face. And so Guru brings Bhagwan, and then Bhagwan says, face. And that, because how long are you going to keep running away? It's well, I guess we can run away our whole lifetime, and then that lifetime's just wasted. Because when I say how long can you run away, actually you can just keep doing it. That's the sad part of the answer, that you can just keep doing it, and when then nothing changes, especially you don't change. But also when we keep running away, it gets harder and harder and harder and harder to keep running away from whatever it is we are. And so Sugriv bonded, and that's why Ramchandraji could say, face it, because when we feel Bhagwan's grace and the presence, and then that faith in us strengthens, and then we willing to face. So initially we apprehensive of even Bhagwan, but Guru brings Bhagwan, and then to be in that presence, the faith increases so much, and then we can do so much. And so Sugriv tells Ramchandraji about the situation. Well, Sugriv and everybody else, because there's a few of them there, right? Hanumanji is there, a few other ministers are there. And they explain about how, did I tell you last week? No. Bali and Sugriv were brothers, and Bali had this boon. I told you that whoever comes in front of him, he gains half their strength. And so human nature is interesting. When somebody puts out a challenge or has a power, everybody wants to beat it, right? So I prove how powerful I am by conquering you. And so Bali was constantly getting challenged to duels. And he also, your typical macho dude. Anyone challenged him? Yes, he was in. He would go for the challenge, even if they came at 2 a.m, and because they traveled from whatever, and that's the time they landed, and they were like, Bali, come and fight me. He left at 2 a.m. to go and fight because he loved fighting. And so in this one event where they were fighting, it took longer than Bali assumed it would take, and he had given instructions to Sugriv to seal the cave. Sugriv actually waited 2 token days, 3 token days. There was no sign of Bali. There was this dribble of blood coming out from the cave. He didn't know whose blood it was. If it was Bali's blood, then this Asura would have been a threat to all of Kishkinda. So out of not knowing what to do, he seals the cave. But he seals Bali into the cave. So Bali got really angry. This also, I remember when I first heard this, that Bali gets really angry with Sugriv, and Sugriv's like, but you told me to do it. And then if you look at it from Bali's point of view, he's spent 5 days fighting with some Asura, and now he's really tired and he just wants to go home, and now the cave is sealed. And like, he's just tired, and so you're so angry. And then you feel so let down by this person who was supposed to be your person and standing there for you. And we forget all the things we did to contribute to us being in that situation. And so in this case, Bali told Sugriv, seal the cave. So he contributed to him being in this situation. But when he's in the situation and the cave is sealed, he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember that he said it. Or maybe he says, but that's not what I meant, and you should have known I was going to win. And how could you not believe that I was going to win? And we tired, and we just want what we want, and we're not very logical. And so now he's upset with Sugriv. And Sugriv also runs away, maybe if he reminded him, or maybe if he showed enough remorse, or if he, but we also sometimes, when something happens, we genuinely don't know what's going to be the right way to appease this person's anger. And how fearful we are plays such a large part in our presence of mind to be able to respond. And so we already know that Sugriv was fearful. And so Bali angry, and his fear takes override. And so run, flight, fight. He wasn't going to fight, so flight it was. But maybe if he sat, didn't fight, even if Bali hit him and he allowed the hit, that sorry, maybe it would have all been over, because they were brothers and they did have a rapport, and they did, all in hindsight. Basically, it's like When we let fear make our decisions for us, sometimes, mostly, they're not the best decisions. So Ramchandraji says, well, I'll help you. So you call him and challenge him, and I'll be the one to destroy him. And then this is, I mean, more than Sita being Jivatma, really Sugriv is more symbolic of Jivatma, because one doesn't want Bhagwan, then gets Bhagwan by Guru's grace, and then what does he do? I don't think you're strong enough to fight Bali. Like literally, he says this line, huh? Every Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, Kumbh Ramayana. There's no, like, have different Ramayans have different takes. No, all of the Ramayans. What does Sugriv say? I don't think you're strong enough to fight Bali. Who's he saying this to? Bhagwan, who is all power, and we all get our power from Bhagwan. But here he is, and this is what devotee does. Doubts that this is Bhagwan, then okay, you are Bhagwan, but doubts you can actually help me. Like, no, please, my problems are so unique, Bhagwan, you can't help me. And my problems are so big, Bhagwan, you're not strong enough to deal with them. And then how arrogant is that? Because I'm dealing with them, or not dealing with them, but think of dealing with them. Or how arrogant is it that we think we're so special that our problem is so big and that even Bhagwan can't deal with our problems? And Sugriv is such a good example of how useless a jiva is in the way we think. Um, so Bhagwan has to now prove to Sugriv that he is strong enough. So they go out into the garden, and Bhagwan takes out one arrow and he shoots it through 7 trees. So for an arrow to go through a tree, you need a solid skill. Because most arrows will hit the tree and then get stuck. If the arrow goes through the tree, it's like already impressive. But Bhagwan's arrow goes through 7 trees, not just one. And then Sugriv says, okay, maybe you got some talent. It's like, what's that guy on that British Got Talent show, that one who is very skeptical of all the science. So now Sugriv is having to acknowledge that maybe Bhagwan can. And so he does. We're going to fast forward the minor details. Sugriv goes to challenge Bali. And then this, which you can say is politically incorrect and very racist, because Bali beats Sugriv, like solid, beats him. And then Sugriv runs away and comes back, looking at Bhagwan saying, you were supposed to help me. And Bhagwan says, but you're brothers and you're look-alike, and you're both monkeys, so you're look-alike. So I didn't know which one to shoot. And I didn't want to shoot you by accident. I told you, politically incorrect. And so Bhagwan puts a garland on Sugriv and sends him back. And it might sound like it's just a humorous incident, but actually, this was Bhagwan giving Bali a chance. So when Sugriv comes and yells, I've come to challenge you to a fight, Bali's wife Tara. Now you see in the Ramayana, the wives are all very smart. Already we saw with Mandodari. Did we see? Not yet. I didn't tell you all how cool Mandodari is yet. No. I will tell you. Remind me. But here Tara goes up to Bali and says, don't accept this challenge. I've never stopped you from accepting a challenge before. It's not like I'm someone who will stop you from doing what you want, but this challenge you'll lose. And then he said, how can you say that? Don't you have faith in my power and I have this boon? She said, yes. But one, Sugriv has been running away from you this whole time. Why would he suddenly come and challenge you? That means he's very confident he's going to win. Also, I've heard that he has met 2 young princes. And I've also heard that it's Ram from Ayodhya, who is none other than Bhagwan who has taken avatar. Bali says, you people like gossiping. But how would she know this? Okay, yes, gossip happens. If Ramchandraji shoots one arrow through 7 trees, it's not like people are not going to notice. Everybody's living in the forest and then suddenly 7 trees have holes in them and it's the shape of an arrow. You're thinking, okay, something's up. This person's not a regular person. So yes, word of mouth would have gone around. But look how acutely aware she is that they would have just spoken about an arrow going through a tree, but she was already able to link it to Prince of Ayodhya, who was exiled into the forest, and that's no other than Bhagwan's avatar on this planet. Now, Tara also, we'll see, I'm jumping a little bit ahead in the story because I just want to show Tara's beauty. So Bali's going to die. We know he's going to die because Ramchandra is going to shoot him. She gets extremely upset that you are Bhagwan. How dare you take a side? You're supposed to love us all. Yeah. And that's when Ramchandraji says, but I sent him a warning. What was the warning? I put a garland on Sugriv. So here in this cheeky exchange of I couldn't tell y'all apart, you're both monkeys, of course Bhagwan can tell us apart. It doesn't matter how alike we look, Bhagwan can see our hearts. He's not seeing physical face. Of course he can tell us apart. A garland is symbolic of victory. We garland when somebody wins, when it's a very honored guest. When somebody is very accomplished, that's when he's garlanded. And so Bhagwan has put a garland on Sugriv and sent him to fight, which is telling Bali, you're going to lose if you fight. He's already got the garland of victory on him. Don't fight. And even now, y'all are brothers. Bali could have sat down and said, how come you've come to fight? All this time you've been running? Why are you so confident? And then if they had spoken and if Bali had come to Ramchandraji would have accepted him. Because he does. He accepts whoever comes to him. And so this extension of story is not extension of story. It's because Tara was going to grieve her husband and she was going to be angry with Bhagwan. And then Bhagwan had an answer. He had sent a warning. He had sent a message. He had sent an opportunity for it not to happen. What? For Bali not to be killed. Bali not to be killed. And then Tara lets go of her anger. And now she's just feeling grief. And then Bhagwan reassures Tara that killed by me, no harm will come to him. He is now freed and liberated and cleansed of all his sins because he's been killed by me. And then she lets go of all her grief. So first she let go of anger, then she lets go of all her grief, and she gets moksha. Because she had lived a life of such incredible seva. And she had done so much satsang that she was wise. And we see this. We see this in, like, we think now today, like how many degrees we have, or if we use very eloquent language, and then the person is highly educated. But actually, highly educated is when we know how to deal with life. And that's what wisdom is, right? Wisdom is when we know how to cope, when we know how to deal, when we can manage ourselves. That's actually wisdom. It doesn't matter how articulate we are, or eloquent we are, or well dressed we are. That's not determining how wise we are. And we see so many of the older generation, and they know. They just um, they just equipoised, and they have such a sense of understanding. And I think I mentioned it in, can't remember where I mentioned it. Um, I was in a camp this weekend. This last weekend, I was in a camp in Vibhuti Ashram, and they wanted to sell the books. And so they announced that anyone who buys books in this next hour, I will sign. So I was like, okay. So a lot of people bought books, and I was literally sitting there for 2 hours signing these books as part of the publicity scheme that they had come up with. And so there were some people standing in the queue to waiting to get their book signed, who was not very young. They were properly old. And so I could hear in the line, they would have been maybe 5 or 6 people down. But we can hear. That's not so far. And she was speaking in Hindi, and it definitely still sounds sweeter in Hindi. So the first friend complained, "We've been standing here for so long." Probably she was tired of standing because it's tiring. Um, and it was long, huh? They probably waited more than an hour. And then the friend replied, "But waiting is what will make it sweeter." When you finally get it, the waiting is what makes it sweeter. And I was signing, and I was like in the momentum of sign next, sign next. And I heard this, but waiting is what makes it sweeter. And I looked up, because the way in which she said it was with not trying to pacify a friend. Not, "My friend is complaining, I'll say something to make you feel better." No. The way in which she said it was with so much conviction. Whether you believe me or not, it doesn't matter. This is the truth. When we've lived a life of giving, doing, surrendering, accepting, there's this maturity and sweetness that comes into the character. And they have all the qualifications needed, that they recognize Bhagwan easily. And so Tara came, she was angry, she let go of anger. She was sad, she let go of the sadness, and she recognized. She was sitting in front of Sri Ram. The minute she let go of desire, sadness, anger, she sees, she's looking at Sri Ram, what she will see divinity. She'll recognize it. And so Tara, this incredible woman, you have a lot of very incredible women in the Ramayana, but unfortunately their parts are so small. So Tara is hardly, this is the only time you see her. She stops Bali from going out to fight, and then when he dies, she comes and she has this wonderful moment with Sri Ram, and she realizes the truth, and so incredibly powerful. There's even Swayamprabha that comes in the Ramayana. Few moments. She's only in the Ramayana for a few moments, but what an incredibly powerful woman. Sorry. Ramchandraji puts the garland around Bali and sends him off to fight. And Bali still fights. And so Ramchandraji shoots. Now he had a boon. He had a boon that whoever comes in front of him, he will get half their strength. Now, whenever anybody asks for a boon, you're also asking for how you're going to die. And so people get very upset that Ramchandraji shot him from behind because this breaks the code of ethics of fighting. But he had a boon. It's like Mahishasura Asura. Mahishasura. That's his name. There's a stotram called Mahishasura Mardini. So I go into the stotra name. But Mahishasura, he took a boon that he cannot be killed by a man. So he was killed by a woman. Like it's so simple. If you ask for these kind of boons, you bring like you're deciding how you're going to die. And then there was Hiranyakashipu. Oh wow. Now he asked so many boons. I won't die at night. I won't die in the day. I won't die outside. I won't die inside. I won't die in the air. I won't die in the land. Oh, yeah. What a long list of requirements he had. So, where did he die? On the threshold. Not outside, not inside. When did he die? At twilight, not in the day, not at night. Where did he die? On Bhagwan's lap. Not on the floor, not on the air. It's like you make your list. You're basically curating. This is how I want to die. And so when Bali asked for the boon, he was curating that he has to be killed from the back because whoever comes in front of him won't be able to give him. But all of us have to die. It's the law. That which is born will die. It's the law. The law is going to work. So if you can't be killed from the front, you have to be killed from the back. And so Ramchandraji shoots. And Bali dies. But he doesn't die immediately. This is like one of those Bollywood Lamba extended remix deaths. You know, when they shot and then they have like a full half an hour conversation with every member of the family before they die. This is like that. So Bali dies and he's fallen. And then Ramchandraji goes to him and puts him on his lap. Like if he's really your enemy, why would you hold him in your lap as he's dying? You wouldn't. Right? And this is another way of Ramchandraji telling Bali. And Bali asked the same question. Like, why do you choose him over me? Are you supposed to be impartial? And number one, you didn't come to me. But number two, you wanted to be angry at your brother. You can be angry at your brother. But you took away his wife. That's a dharma. Anyway, discord is a dharma. But taking away another man's wife, or for a woman, her husband. Like then when this is a commitment two people have made to each other, and then you deliberately break it, causing so much pain to both parties and then to everyone else as well, like kids and extended family and parents. And we don't realize that pain won't be just to one person. When you cause one person pain, you're causing so many people pain. So for that, a dharma. It's not that Sugriev's perfect, but it wasn't a dharma what he did. Maybe a little bit short-sighted. Maybe a little bit, what's the word? What's the word? Impulsive. But not adharmic, where you very deliberately, like out of vengeance or spite, want to hurt a person. And then also, Bali had become too proud. Because when you ask for this boon, that whoever comes in front of you, you'll get half their strength. You're just always going to be stronger. Then pride it's inevitable. And then when we become too proud, we can't make any progress spiritually. You can climb corporate ladder and you can climb prestige ladder and you can climb so many other ladders, but not spiritual ladder. Pride won't allow you to make any progress spiritually. And then Bhagavan said, and then you'll stay too far away from me if you have so much pride. So we had to end it. And then Bali himself understands and accepts. And he cries and he says, Bhagavan, forgive me. And Ramchandraji said, but you're already forgiven. You want my love? And you're looking at me. Your last breath is going to be taken in my lap, looking at me. You will come to my abode only. And there's nothing to forget. And then Bali says, where I have failed, I hope you will ensure that my son succeeds. I failed to serve you. I failed to come to you. So I give you my son. Maybe he won't come to you, so I'm giving him to you. Because let my son get everything I didn't get, which is every father's dream, right? And I didn't get to serve you, let my son serve you. And so his last thing is, before he dies, look after my son. And we'll see that Ramchandraji does. And even Sugriv does. And so here you see too that there is still lots of goodness in Sugriv. Right? He doesn't say, oh, yo. Like Angad's still the crowned prince. After Sugriv, Angad takes over Kishkinder. Sugriv didn't want the kingdom. Maybe little bit he wanted, all of us little bit want things, but not to the extent of where he'd break dharma forever. And then Tara comes, and I've already told you what happens when Tara comes. And Angad also comes, and Angad does serve Ramchandraji. But of course, there's slight hesitation because Ramchandraji killed his father. But that journey he also gets through and ends up being one of the most beautiful players in the war. Really a beautiful messenger of Ramchandraji at the end of it in the war. So before we conclude, we'll just talk about this boon that Bali had. Bali represents desire. Desire is so strong. Like Bali's strength, desire is so strong. And then if the object of our desire comes in front of us, then whatever willpower we had halves. Like if it's not there, if the object of my desire is not there, right? Example. What's this new series you all said is very good? Ted Lasso. I need to Google it, check it out. So let's say your computer is off, the where your computer is, that room, the light is off, and battery is dead. And it's 12:30. You'll go sleep. Okay. If computer's on, if Netflix is already opened, and you see the preview running, and it's 12:30 at night, you should go sleep. But It's right in front of you. And then you'll say, I'll just watch a little bit, which doesn't happen, no? You're going to watch the whole thing. So when it's right in front of you, the object of your desire, your willpower, halts. Yeah. This can happen with Netflix. It can happen with food. So many people, so many people. You know, in the self-love challenge, I don't know if it's come yet. One of the things, because the whole chart was given ahead of time, one of the things is give up sugar. Only for a week, huh? And I was talking to somebody who's very new to the ashram, and they said, you know, all your activities that you've planned for the self-love challenge look very nice, but I don't know if I can do that one. Which one? Give up sugar for a week. And I thought, that's an easy one. Like on one of the days, you have to do 100 things you're grateful for in relation to your body. Like if anything, that one was hard for some people. Or write a letter to yourself, and there was forgive yourself. And so many of the other ones are like genuinely, And then she said, no, it's not easy. And I said, but it's only a week, you'll be fine. And she said, you were Swamini. It might be easy for you, but giving up sugar is not easy. Yeah. And then the number of times you've done it, I've done it, and we've seen it happen in front of us. They say no, and then you put it in front of them. Okay. Like the willpower diminishes when the object of our desire is in front of us. And so the first way to conquer desire is don't go there. Like if you don't want to eat it, don't keep it in the house. When they joined Alcoholics Anonymous, they told not even to walk down a street that has a bar. In Hong Kong, you wouldn't be able to go anywhere. Like so many bars in Chinmaya, like which street not to walk on. But really, in America, in London, they'll tell you not to go to that street because the temptation will be too high. So, Bali represents desires. And desires, the way to fight desire initially is willpower. Eventually is to sublimate the desire itself, but that's not fighting it, that's dissolving it. But initially it's to have that willpower. Willpower's first step is keep it away. But Bali also represents desire. Another way is vasanas. And so we see that Sugriv had done something. He put the block and covered the cave. Action. And then reaction, Bali's anger. And then instead of facing the reaction, Bali ran. Sugriv ran. And what happened? Bali ran after him. And wherever Sugriv ran, Bali just followed. Because vasanas, or the karmas, the consequences of the actions that are pending, you can't outrun. They will follow. Wherever you go, they will follow. And the only place Bali couldn't go was Rishi Mukha Parvat, which represents Rishi Mukha, facing the Rishi. When you're facing a Rishi, when you're sitting in satsang, that's the only time vasanas can't touch you. And so Gurudev used to joke, you leave them with your shoes at the door. But when satsang's finished, you put them back on. And you leave. So they following you again. And the only way to deal with it is face But before facing, surrender to Ram. That's what Sugriv did. Guru brought Ram to Sugriv. Sugriv surrendered to Ramchandraji. Then he went to go face his karmas. We're not going to be able to escape our karmas. We also need to surrender Bhagwan. And then face. He'll take care. So it's a story. It's so sweet. All the messages in the Ramayana are so sweet. So we shall continue in February. Don't know why. I don't know how it happened. That Wednesday just got left and it went. Anyways. Except you can come and listen to parenting talk next week. Any questions? No? We'll send Guruji's out. Yes, ask.
I just want to know the chanda is story for
The Raman or the Sahana Vavadu?
is why
It's the invocation mantras of Valmiki Ramayana. I'll give them to you. You can take photo. Before talking on the Ramayana, we invoke Ramchandraji first, and then Hanumanji. Because you can't reach Ramchandraji without Hanumanji. So I chant those two mantras from Valmiki Ramayana. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet, asato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Hari Om.